Welcome into the Wanks FPL podcast. I'm joined as always by Sharp FPL Vibes FC and FPL Mac, aka the codename kid next door in the plunger this week. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Sharp, we missed you last week, but we sure don't fucking miss you now that you're back. And luck yourself into the top score of the week. So how are we doing, Vince?
You know what? I think there's a direct correlation to not listening to you guys and getting a better score. Obviously, this was all purposeful and planned and well executed. So I'm happy to be here.
It happens. It happens to everyone, but it seems like it happens to you a lot. So we're a little bitter this week. But green arrows all around. Am I right in saying that? We all got green. So
that is correct.
Positive week in that sense. Got to take the wins where we can get them. Just a tough one in the mini. Yeah, we all dropped into. I was gonna say the sub million, but that's just so sad. You guys are doing well. I'm still not at 500K, but we're getting closer. We're getting closer.
I was gonna say it's a pretty steep slide right there between.
Yeah, we've been having a nice run of things. And then in the mini, despite all of us,
those are some pretty steep slides there too. Look at that.
Sharp took a nice kick this week. Won the week beat me by 10 points, and I think Mac by 15. So that took a solid hit to the old scores. But yeah, that's the state of the mini.
I was gonna say, as before I get on my high horse, I think it just shows that as quick as that.
There, bud.
Yeah, you're right. But as quick as that can happen, you guys can make it up next week just as fast, and you would have made it up this week if not for
don't give me these fucking pep talks when you win. I don't want this shit.
Well, so the funny thing is, Sharp, like, to give you some back context as well of why this is frustrating is because last pod, Mac and I were talking about, like, I was like, hey, I'm at this rank. Like, I think I should go anti-Haaland captain because I just need to climb rank and I need to go with a differential. So I captained Thiago. Obviously, he ended up returning and great. Didn't captain Ekatike. Could have done that, noting. But then to see somebody who did captain Haaland luck their way into, like, a better captaincy just hurts my soul. I'm like, all right, that's fuck.
Hey, that's why it matters where you put that vice chip, you know?
100%. 100%.
We're going to go backwards order.
I think that's fair.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, so everything that happened to me this week, I did not deserve. I will be the first to say it. That green arrow was actually massive. You can see gained 98K rank.
Basically. What was your game week rank? Do you know? It had to be like
I think it's right up top, 113,000.
No, that's just my rank. It was 246, I think, or something like that. It was somewhere around the 200s for most of the week.
Okay.
The one transfer I made heading into this week was Timber to Van Dijk. Felt great about that until Timber put one in, and like obviously Van Dijk scored. I'm not mad about it.
Oh yeah, boo-hoo! Both guys scored a goal.
Yeah, well, I felt better. Like I felt really good when I got the guy that scored. I was like, hey, I did something. I didn't do anything, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, no, the back line played pretty solid for all the goals that came this week. Thankfully, my defenders were contributing to those goals because there really weren't very many clean sheets to go around. So Van Dijk scores, Gabriel assists technically, as well as getting DEFCONs and the bonus. So that was huge. Hill was a bit of a disappointment for how well he's played, but out of a 4 million defender, like fine to get 2 points. Looking at the front line, like, yeah, so here's where the chaos ensued that helped me out. I had Haaland captain. Ekatike was my vice. Haaland doesn't play. Wilson gets subbed in. Ekatike puts up the highest game. I'm probably not the highest game week score, but the highest of viable captains at 15. So that's huge. Wilson has a great game, puts a 12-pointer up there, and Bruno looks great. So in a week that started with Rodgers and Hill doing nothing for me, my go-to Anderson not doing well, everyone else stepped up, which was great. And this is the first week, due to that luck, that I pretty much didn't leave a shit ton of points on my bench. So how about that?
You're looking at like 40.
You would have, though. That's the thing. You had Harry Wilson as your first sub. You would have.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
So like I said, overall, very happy, very lucky. I'm bringing the good vibes this week. It's been a while since I've gotten to do this.
Yeah. I forgot how we've been the rest of the season. To your point of no clean sheets, the only teams that cleaned were Wolves and City. So a weird week in that sense, and like definitely a lot of goals. But Also weird in the sense of it felt like most of those goals came from players doing it more than once, which again is very welcome in this season. But it's a weird spot where it's like the players who we knew were good, the kind of template players, if you will, did really well. So yeah, just a weird week, but
it feels like 100%. It feels like the only ones that really didn't when you look at it. I mean, Semenyo did, so he was someone I'd been considering, which is kind of why I'm not beating myself up, but that's like, it was either Van Dijk or Semenyo coming in this week. So I was like, would have been a bigger differential there, but oh well.
Yep.
Bumo avoided, thank God. But it's not paying to avoid people right now, it doesn't feel like, because even Thiago still put 5 up. Like, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We had Thiago and he didn't, Mac, and he's still fine. Whatever. Yeah. Neither here nor there. All right, yeah, we can jump into mine then if we're going in this order. Yeah, similar vibes. Double Arsenal defense continues to just shit a brick, but at least Gabriel. I mean, I don't know if you guys were watching that header, but like it went in off Saliba, but really it was Gabriel just he jumps like double his actual height. It's unbelievable. Yeah, the Brentford guys came through, which was sick. And yeah, Harry Wilson, Bruno, Ekitike. Like again, this team I would be so gassed up right now if it wasn't that Sharp had captained Ekitike. I really think that's the difference in my week right now. But and also that I sold Rice instead of Enzo. That I knew that one was going to bite me in the ass, and it sure came quick. As soon as the team locked, I was like, why did I have Enzo first sub? It should have been Alderete, but it is what it is. So yeah, anyway, very good week despite my demeanor. Mac, take it away.
No, I'm similarly bummed, and it's you hit the nail on the head, Luke. It's not that we did bad; it's just I'm so bitter that Sharp did so good, and I shouldn't be green.
I swear, guys, we're friends in real life.
I shouldn't be like green with envy like this, but I had the added context of having to spend the entire day with him while all this was happening. So he's just like
he's really highest... humble and quiet. So I'm sure you caught.
Yes, I was so quiet Saturday. There was even a time I walked upstairs and explained my excitement to Brooke because I didn't want to rub it into Mac.
And
that's a good guy. That's a good guy.
Our success was just inversely related on Saturday. So anytime something good happened to his team, it was bad for my team.
Yeah.
So I was just losing it. I was at like 400K after the Saturday games, and it wasn't good. So I rallied, but I just got so wounded there in the middle that I'm struggling to be excited. That being said, it was actually a good week for me.
No, and I think it's interesting. Obviously, like you got your savior was definitely Bruno, but it is interesting that some of the players that Sharp and I had in, like Harry Wilson and Ekitike, who were some of the top scorers of the week, you didn't have, but still managed to keep a green. Like that's still pretty solid. All things.
Yeah, it was definitely an element of getting bailed out by Bruno, but he only had 13 points, so it's not outside of the realm of possibility for a captaincy candidate. It's a frustrating green because I did everything right. Like I brought in Dango, I brought in Thiago, I did what was good for my team. And barring like Rodgers, that's the only player on this team I'm really kind of unhappy with. Everybody returned, Mbumo didn't, but that's fine. And so, yeah, it was the week where all the guys who I didn't want to score, like Semenyo and Wilson and Ekitike, also scored, which made my excitement a little less palpable.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's talk some teams really quick, I suppose. Let's talk Chelsea. Obviously, this was a big sale week. We all got rid of them. I don't know. They can be a bit of a frustrating team. Obviously, as somebody who owned Enzo. Sharp, I know you still have Joe Pedro. He still looks really involved. Like, I don't think he's somebody looks terrible. The worst fixture they had is gone now. So in theory, he's somebody that's keepable. I think Enzo, as somebody who owns him, is a priority sell. I gotta say, Cole Palmer, is he on the menu? I mean, he's playing enough. He's on pens. He's involved. He's just not playing. I guess he's not playing those full 90s consistently. But he could potentially still be an option. And I think defensively, they've proven not to be an option. So one team to touch on, but
yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head. I don't think there's anyone that should be an option aside from those two guys. And I still rate João Pedro much higher than I do Cole Palmer. And part of that is the consistency in the minutes, the consistency of not being injured or the risk of getting injured again. And then the other part of that is that the midfield is so crowded right now with the amount of guys that we could select in there that going up to Cole Palmer doesn't feel like it differentiates from having another 8 million or one of those guys in there. The problem though is I'm looking at a front line right now. What I have is really expensive with Haaland, JP, and Ekitike. So very heavily invested in there. And then you obviously have Thiago for the Brentford fixtures coming up. That is going to be a huge risk to me. So I'm trying to figure out either João Pedro could be a great differential, and he's in pretty incredible form. Even today against the best defense in the league, he didn't look that bad. So I'm still kind of excited about him, but I'm scared of Thiago too.
Yeah, it's a good summary. I agree. I think that the Chelsea assets have looked pretty shaky, and well, the best fixture is out of the way. They just none of them look that convincing. Palmer's so expensive, and there's a lot of guys who are doing a lot better. So I'm pretty out on them still. I think I agree with my move to fire sell them.
Yeah,
and they could get their 10th red card in the season next game.
Jeez, yeah,
it'd be pretty exciting.
Then they get a pizza party.
That's insane. Were you watching when Neto got that?
So the thing is, I was watching, and then I was like chatting with my roommate on the side, and I looked back, and I was like, wait, I feel I've been watching this game. I missed the red card, so no, I fully missed what happened.
Well, he gets a yellow because he's in the ref's ear completely unnecessarily, like just being a nuisance. Granted, that ref had some trouble, but it was more so in Chelsea's favor than against Chelsea today. I would say the amount of whistles that he blew against Arsenal. And then all of a sudden he just makes an absolutely egregious tackle right after he got his yellow. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
I mean, it was a scissor tackle and everything. It was the most obvious yellow ever. If it was like a double red, he should have gotten that too for then just abusing the ref afterwards. It was like a complete head loss for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, discipline is not strong, and it's like you would think like a change of manager would maybe make a difference, but it sure hasn't. Well, I guess I want to talk about a little bit like more meta, I suppose. Sharp, you said there's so many options in the midfield, and maybe this is just me being reactionary, but last week I feel like I would have agreed with you, and now I'm like, I don't know, because Wirtz is out. Rodgers' best fixture in theory just passed, and he hasn't returned, so I would assume he's somewhat on the chopping block for both of you guys. Some of the cheap guys, like, maybe we already went to a lot of those. It seems like between the three of us, one of us has Dango or Harry Wilson or both, right? So you have those guys. I suppose you could go with Ryan from Bournemouth, but as somebody who's looking for a midfield replacement, I'm kind of looking around being like, I don't know where to go. Semenyo is someone who's producing, but obviously he has the blank in 31, so it feels like a weird time to go pick him. I don't know. Are we in a position where this is somewhat of an obvious role? There are like not moves to be made, or are there people that you guys see on your radar as, hey, I want to go out and get that guy? Because I feel like we all have relatively similar template teams, some differences, but not huge ones.
Yeah, I think number one, I'm going to argue on the Rodgers comment. His best fixture of the next three, are gone. His next two aren't great. But then the run for Villa of West Ham, Forest, Sunderland, Fulham, Tottenham, Burnley is pretty insane. And that's the really, really annoying light that just keeps flashing when I want to get rid of Rodgers after these last three blanks. For me, there's where I'm saying it's very crowded is unfortunately in that cheaper tier. It's a lot of those 5 to 6 million guys that have gone off, because to your point, Wirtz is no longer an option. So take him out, but you still have, I think Rice is still viable. I know you got rid of him, but if he's playing, he's so integral to what they do.
But he even might be hurt. Like he asked to get subbed off this game week. So, maybe he plays and it's fine, but quick midweek of somebody who needed a sub makes me think maybe he actually might not be an option.
Yeah, that's fair. But then you still have the United guys. You still have Bruno and Bumo. And then I think that Sobo kind of steps in as a possible option at Liverpool, especially with Joe Gomez coming back and making sure that Sobo doesn't have to play in the right back position. Now he gets to play forward a little bit. I think he's going to become a little more important. And then you have all the other. Semenyo's still in there. I know he's out in a couple weeks with the blank. He's still Semenyo, and he still continues to be that good. So there are certainly people to go to there.
Yeah, it's a lot of micro gains too. In a year with not a huge captaincy, like that little cheap guy who gets one goal is enough to swing a rank pretty big. Like look at Wilson today.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of, I think it'd be a timing game on what guy do we have, and is it for the right set of fixtures? Like, is Wilson in the next 3 little run worth it or not?
And I just wanted to touch on the Rodgers point. Like, this was a shocking result, I feel like, for Villa. And this is why, to your point, yes, they have some good long-term fixtures, but it makes me be like, are they trustworthy in those fixtures, right? If they can't score a goal and even put up like a decent amount of XG against Wolves, it makes me be like, oh, I really don't know about them. And this is not just this game. It seems like Villa has really been struggling to attack for the last few weeks now. So I'm not trying to convince you either way. I'm just saying, like, as somebody who doesn't have Rodgers, I'm like, I don't care who he's playing. I do not want to go there.
Yeah. When I brought him in or kept him on my wild card, I said, this is potentially a bad move because McGinn and Tielemans went down injured. And I feel like the fall off of the Villa assets is directly and coincided with that fact. Like, Onana and whoever's subbing in are just not doing it in the same way. And I feel like they're suffering as a result. The problem is with the fixtures, I'm like, are they going to reverse? And when do McGinn and Tielemans come back? But if they're not coming back soon, I'm significantly cooling off on Rodgers despite the good fixtures, because as a team, they're just not putting it together.
Dude, they look so bad. Like, I texted you guys during that game. Like, they just look so bad. But then it's been the same. It's the same thing all season. That's the problem. They haven't looked great at any point this season.
No,
Rodgers has looked great.
Yeah, Rodgers is the only saving grace on that team.
And even in this game, he had a beautiful drive. I'm calling it a drive because I play basketball. I don't know what you're going to call it, a dribble move, whatever. Took it to the end line and just literally threw a little cross dribbler back right in front of goal. If there was a striker on that team worth anything, including Ollie Watkins, they would have been on the end of that, and Rodgers would have the easiest assist in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's unfortunate he's on the team he's on.
Yeah, it's a game margins. He's losing them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just feels like there are a lot of teams similar to Villa that I don't really want to go to right now. Like, you look at a team, I'm trying to think of who has good fixtures in the next couple. Like, Palace have Tottenham and Leeds. Yes, they have the blank in 31, but it's tough to go to a team like that. Fulham, if you already have Harry Wilson, I feel like he's kind of the only guy you'd want. Maybe you could go for Raul, but he's...
Or Anderson potentially on defense. But
yeah, true. I guess I'm thinking an attack, but yes, that's a good point.
Dude, if you sort by form, Iwobi's up there too.
Oh, fuck you, Form Table. I hate you so much. Form Table told you to bench Harry Wilson this week. Yeah, it seems like all three of us have a little bit of a blind spot with Bournemouth right now, and they do have Brentford, Burnley, and United in the next 3. I just am unclear what Mac and I touched on this last week, Sharp, but it feels like this is the Bournemouth that I remember from last season before Semenyo had this incredible start to the year, where it's like there are so many options and any one of them could have a good week and the rest of them will blank any given week. So I think you could go Tavernier. I think you could go Ryan. I think you could even potentially go like an Evan Nielsen. But none of those are shouting out enough to me to use the transfer. So it's from your and my perspective, Sharp, I'm curious where you stand now on using transfers versus saving them as we go forward into a potential wildcard 32. Are you still in the camp of, hey, it's probably better to just save them, or are you trying to be aggressive over this next few weeks? Yeah. Who am I kidding?
I know last time I was on the pod, I was advocating for a save a couple and roll in. Like, basically from this week on, I would save 2 or 3 and then wildcard 31, 32. I'm still not set on exactly what I want to wildcard. I kind of kicked that around the Mac. 31 almost feels exciting because I don't know what the template is, to be fair, if it's 32. But my thought is if I go 31, I can ensure that I will have a full team playing if I want to, as well as get close enough to what I would want to wildcard in 32 and just be a week ahead, ideally taking price changes on, like, in a benefiting way. But I think right now, and the big question is going to be for me, Semenyo, is basically, is he worth it in the next 2 to make that transfer, get the gain that I could get out of him, probably for Rodgers, and then go into that wild card and readjust as needed. So I think I'm going to spend them. I think that's where it's going to be. Still up for debate, and do actually want your guys' opinions, because I feel like Haaland's presence looms over pretty much every decision I'm going to make here. Because if he's out, then it's Haaland to Thiago, and I get to play 2 or 3 strikers pretty easily every week. So all of that to answer your question, yeah, I'm in the camp of using them going into my wild card and then just playing aggressive pretty much the rest of the season.
Yeah, we haven't explicitly touched on it, obviously, but insinuated. Obviously, Haaland was out this week. That had rippling effects, but it's a question of now it's a quick turnaround, and does he come back? Semenyo scores here, but City certainly looked a little less threatening than they usually do.
I feel like the score does not give credit to Leeds in this game because City did not look good for almost even a moment during this entire game. Sharp and I were watching that one together, and the entire time we're like, City look bad.
I mean, and this shows that, right? In the first half, literally nothing. 0 XG up until the very, very end of the first half when Semenyo scores.
And Leeds were just like letting little chances, like getting chances over and over and over, as reflected by this graph. I feel like we got away with one as a Gahey owner, Luke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so I'm not opposed to going to Semenyo. Obviously, I was thinking of going to him a couple weeks ago. And I think, but I wonder, do you guys think that Haaland being out makes him a better or worse asset? And
better.
I don't know the answer.
Better. He's the only guy who's been consistently doing anything on City. He feels like he's been there forever, and he's only been there since January. And I feel like Pep knows he can rely on him. And Pep's really good at like getting the best out of his assets if he's got a functioning asset. So it's the whole Semenyo debate is, can I get him in a way that makes sense for 31, the blanket 31? But if Haaland's going to be out for a little while, then I actually think his value increases because he can be kept and then benched in 31 potentially and then held.
I think my only worry, and this is actually why I didn't go Semenyo a couple weeks ago, or one of the main reasons, is just how many fixtures they have coming up. So Sharp, we took a look at this graph last week. Basically, it shows you each fixture that they have, green being more time of rest and red being less. And so they have obviously they just played that Leeds game, so we are not here anymore. We're over there, but they played this Leeds game. Now they have Forest 3 days later, and then they have Newcastle in the FA Cup a few days later. This also doesn't account for Champions League games that are upcoming. So yeah, it just feels like there's potential for a lot of rotation. Part of that is also why like I have no basis to this other than just vibes. But I think that this was a planned rest for Haaland against Leeds. Mm-hmm. And they said, hey, we have this rough upcoming run of fixtures. And Pep said, hey, we just want to rest him. Didn't put him in the squad to even go to temptation in case they were losing or something. And he'll be back. So I genuinely believe he'll be back Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. Whether that's the case or not, or that's just hope talking is another thing. But it also, to the point of like, where do you go with the money, made me be like, if I was going to sell Haaland, I don't even know. Like for you, Mac, you don't have Ekatike. Okay, that's a pretty easy way to go. For you, Sharp, you don't have Thiago, so that's a pretty easy way to go. For me, I'm like, I have both those guys. I don't know exactly where the money could go. I could put it back in midfield, but like for who? Salah? For Palmer? Like Saka? Like I don't think any of those guys feel like I need to invest the money. So I'm kind of like, I might as well just keep him.
No, I mean, even going down to Thiago's $7.5 million, I think that clears, like that's absurd. Yeah. But to your point, because I was playing with this a couple weeks ago in my planner, and I did go to Salah. I'm not doing that. Obviously, this was like, if he comes back and looks amazing at the time. He is not. So I'm not doing that. But they still gave me $5 million in the bank after I made the move to Salah. And I'm like, well, I guess I may as well just have Haaland because it's like, okay, then maybe I just shouldn't sell the biggest threat in the game at that point. If if you sell him, then and he returns, you're fucked. And so I right now I can't see it being worth it. Even a couple weeks ago, people toying with the idea of going Haaland to Salah. It feels like you just saw a game where Liverpool put up 5 goals, right? And Salah wasn't involved at all. So I'm good. Yeah. I'll pass.
I agree.
I think you're probably right on with the Haaland getting an intentional rest thing. I know. I kind of hope you are too. My take is though he's looked tired for a little while. Like he has needed a rest, and I don't know if one's going to help him or if there is some sort of muscular or just pure fatigue that's going on that's lessening him because he's been this way for a little while.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess we can look a little bit at projections for this upcoming week. You know, it seems like this was a week where everybody knows what happened, right? the guys that we owned scored. So there's not a whole lot to review there, but it is interesting to look at where we could go for 1 week and especially in my case, Sharp, where we're thinking in short-term punts, like an Everton 40% chance of a clean sheet against Burnley is pretty enticing. Admittedly, I wouldn't agree with that just because of how Burnley have been playing recently.
They looked good this weekend.
They looked really good. I think they just have abandoned completely like the park the bus tendency that they were doing a lot earlier in the year and are saying, fuck it.
Let's fight. Yeah.
Respect to them, which if anything makes it just better for your attackers to play against them. But from a defensive standpoint, I don't feel great about that. And y'all already have Van Dijk, max pain on that one of him fucking scoring against me, but he's somewhere you could still go, I suppose, if you wanted to make defensive transfers. But attacking wise, I don't, unless you're in max case and you don't have Ekitike already, it feels like, boy, I just don't know where to go.
Yeah, and it's not for this week. It would be playing out in the future. I think one guy we haven't talked about, I want to talk about Liverpool at some point too, because over the course of the last 2 games we've played, we'll talk about that. But a guy that we haven't talked about is Sesko. I think Garrick really likes him. It sounds stupid, but over his last 5, 8 blank 866, like I'll take that out of my striker every time. So he kind of seems enticing up there, and he's looked a lot better. He had a great header today. I see you shaking your head and you're mad about it, but like
no, I'm not mad about it. I just laugh because Mr. Form Table doesn't realize that he hasn't been starting the games, and he plays like 30 minutes. He has been scoring, you're correct, but he plays like 30 minutes today. He was the first time he started in like 5 weeks.
And I think it's going to be a lot more consistent.
Sharp, you just 100% looked at the form table and sorted it.
Right.
I watched the game today. I listened to everything
He did start today. Yes.
No, I listened to what they said, but guys that are scoring like that, you're going to have playing. And it seems that
that's fair.
Eric's putting guys in the positions they're actually supposed to play, and shocking, they're performing more in line with how you would expect a player of their caliber to play. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I would be lying if I said I hadn't thought the same thing. Fixture wise, Newcastle, Villa, not the best in the next 2. Combo that with the lack of minutes, but as well as like we do, all 3 of us, I guess you don't, Sharp, but me and Mac already have Bruno and Bumo. So it's kind of like, I feel like it is overkill for me to go get their striker as well.
Yeah, for sure. This is if Haaland is out and where I'm going with it, I would probably go there to continue to play against Thiago, just because Brentford's lack of consistency as a team, I think I'm not a huge fan of and don't like attaching too much to. So even though they have those great fixtures, I'm still hesitant on them. And I would rather, that's where I'm like, I'll take the risk against the field.
Do that, please. So
I will
make a mini ground.
Yeah, good luck with that. So that would be somewhere where I would go with that. And then like I just feel like my midfield's pretty packed, so I would rather go that over Bumo. But I don't know if that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. I think the Manchester United guys, like, I think I'm of 2 minds with Bruno. I'm obviously keeping him. It's not like I'm trying to sell him or something, but just trying to understand like how he is as a player right now. He is so integral to their attack, but unlike before, if their attack isn't clicking, he's going to blank. So it does feel like now more than before, he's more blank or like zero or hero type vibe. And this week, obviously, it turns out to be the hero. But in certain weeks, it may be that he zeroes out. I think for me, that makes him slightly a less enticing captaincy option. I say that as he was, got 13 points this week and crushed it for Max. So not throwing any shade or anything, just more so in the sense of like, I think he's an interesting one. And Bumo feels the same way where it's either a blank or a bigger haul. And I think that's probably more true on the Bruno side, but both of those guys, I don't know. I think maybe it's more so that I'm just uncomfortable hitching my wagon to United's attack because you really never know which team's going to show up. Is it the one who gets like blanked out versus West Ham, or the team today that looked just like they were peppering every single play with a cross in from Bruno that was a threatening header? So that's really all it is. But with both those guys, it's like on one given week, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm off of them. And then the next week I'm like, oh, they're the best players in the game, so I got to keep him. But that might just be me dealing with the swings.
No, I think that's very fair. I do want to talk about Liverpool just for a second because kind of the last 2 games, they've decided they wanted to play with literally just an ounce of intensity, and they're finally kind of pressing again from the top, which they had not been doing. There seems to be a lot more energy in their legs and in their play. I don't know what the cause of that is, if Slot decided to not be Slot and let other things happen. But I mean, I'm surprised that XG is as low as it is, to be honest with you. That's brutal. But I there were a lot more long balls in this game, and there were a lot more just attempts to be creative and have open play and fast paced. And that's who they have been and how they won the league last year. So why would they haven't been playing that way? I don't know. But with that, as well as Joe Gomez coming back and getting Sobo up there, even with Verts out, I think this opens up a few more options. We talked about Van Dijk defensively with the fixtures they have coming up. I wouldn't go to Konate, but he has been also putting points up just because the defense has been playing better and he's getting DEFCONs and stuff like that. But then it makes Soboslai a lot more important in the midfield and a lot more central to what's going on. He 3 games ago blanked, but otherwise he's been putting an okay amount of points up pretty consistently, and I expect that to just get better with the teams they have coming up. And then Ekatike, I think, is a very good option up front. The goal and the assist this weekend didn't look necessarily the best, but he had a lot of touches. Yeah, 2 assists. Good call. But he had a lot of touches in and around the box, and with Isak continuing to be out, he's going to play every game. So,
yeah.
It was annoying as someone who didn't go heavy in the Liverpool assets. They looked pretty good, and that was frustrating. Because now I'm like, shit, do I need to be considering Ekatike? His goal wasn't off of an amazing chance, and neither were the follow-ups, but they just consistently had him, and that's what I'm primarily looking for. Like, just the little march they have up, just constant little steps. Like, they're good enough players to put those away on low XG chances. They just need a lot of them sometimes, and they got them. So it was a very good Liverpool showing.
I do think Ekatike is, like, if I didn't own him, I do think he's a pretty high priority transfer. Like, their fixtures are pretty excellent from now for a while. Wolves, Tottenham, Brighton, Fulham, Everton. That feels like a good set. And even before now, in the last few weeks, he's been really frustrating because he's been blanking, but it's because he's been missing big chances, not because Liverpool have been super flat. So as long as Isak's out, he does feel like worth the money. And, you know, we're all also sitting here talking about how we have a lot of money, or could potentially have a lot of money if you want to sell Haaland, which is a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I think he is worth it, but I know, Mac, it's probably a little harder in your specific team situation. You might have to rip some things up that you weren't planning to. So
that's exactly it. Getting him is slightly challenging for me. I mean, I could get him very easily in a variety of ways. It's just a question of whether I want to spend those transfers or not.
Yeah,
it's the debate I'm having over and over and over right now.
But to your point, Sharp, I am curious to, like, when you're thinking of Szoboszlai, somebody who's a little bit cheaper that you could just pretty much anybody could go get, has the money to go get, if that's actually a worthwhile transfer. Because it sounds like Wirtz isn't too far away. It sounds like he's probably not going to play this next game in 29, but may be able to be back. I don't know. Slot seems unsure.
For sure, but I don't think that's one that's going to impact Szoboszlai very much. I think who that's really going to take away from is you've seen McAllister get goals over the last 2 games. I don't think he's going to be in the position to do that with Wirtz back. I think if anything, it just gives another guy that can pass the ball well, and Szoboszlai's still going to be the one that's taking those free kicks and has a lot of routes to points, as we say, and is super creative. So I don't think it takes away from him at all. I think what that comes down to is, who do you like in that low to mid? Like, are you getting rid of Rodgers? Do you want to bring someone in your 5 to 6 million range up to I think he's 6'8" right now. Yeah, I think he's just someone to keep an eye on. I think he's going to continue putting points up because I think Liverpool is actually going to click for a little bit. Famous last words.
Yeah, Sobo is such a weird one where I never know whether he's going to be involved in that. And it seems like more often than not, unfortunately, he hasn't been, just in terms of goals and assists. And so I like the idea of a cheap Liverpool asset that's threatening and could do really well, but he just hasn't done that much this year from a FPL perspective. So he's always someone that I look at and think, maybe I should do that. And then I think better of it, right? Like, at this point, Gravenberch has still scored more points than him. So
Yeah, but like I would say if you're watching how they played in recent weeks, I think there's clear that Soboslai is better than Gravenberg.
I hear you. I just mean like how many times this season
I hear what you're
we
saying.
looked at Sobo and said like, oh well now like when Salah wasn't there and it was like he's on pens, it was like, well now you can go Sobo. And it seems like every time he's been not that great. That being said, me and Mac were looking at totals and Sobo has 4 more points than Wirtz overall. So maybe there's counterpoint there. Mm-hmm. I'm being extra critical of this because I actually could do Sobo this week, and there's kind of no barrier for me to do so. So I honestly might. I mean,
he's better than Enzo.
For sure he is. So that's why I'm like, I actually could do that. Maybe I do. I was saving that money for Wirtz, and it doesn't seem like that's going to work. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah. Mac, how are we feeling about Tottenham? I feel like we should just get this out of the way. Let's go.
It's like the main reason I'm so bummed today. There's not much to discuss. They're just really bad. And I think that everybody is just like looking to the end of the season. And my fear is that the players are too. And they got to forget that they got to like secure not getting relegated before they can turn their brains off. And it doesn't look like that's exactly happening.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I feel like it is, from an FPL perspective, Operation Target Tottenham as much as possible. We are going to have Romero back, but based on his track record, he's due for another red in 3 games. So,
yeah, exactly.
Oh God, what's pissing me off though is like I don't know if anyone saw the game today, but there was just a horribly inconsistent decision that went against us last week and went against us in the Liverpool game. We haven't had a pen the entire season, not one. So
damn,
I'm like things are not going well for us right now. We're leaky defensively. I think we got to get as many guys in our teams who play Tottenham in the next couple of weeks as possible.
Yeah, I think that's super fair. Who's that this week? Let's see. It's Haaland. Yeah.
Well, they haven't looked very good, so this will be good for them to get a win under their books.
Yeah, I will say because you're my friend, I keep looking at Tottenham's rest of season schedule, and I'm like, oh, this is doable. But granted, one of those games was Fulham, where I was like, okay, that's a doable game. So,
well, we have the benefit of the fact that Nottingham Forest have been fixated on blowing themselves up on our side, like just ripping it apart in the run-in isn't a great idea generally. Yeah, it's not great. But hey, we're only in 16th, so basically miles away.
Well, not to
4 points away.
Yikes. Not bringing it back to the FPL to make Mac less sad, but also along the same lines of like why it's relevant. I will say like we've seen noticeable life over the last few weeks, not just this past week, but obviously this past week especially, from teams like West Ham, Wolves, and Burnley. And I think that's worth noting as we look at fixture runs and stuff like that again, I don't know if West Ham is a team to target. Yes, Liverpool just put 5 on them, but it seems like based on this graphic that maybe that was a little inflated. Similarly, Burnley just put 3 up against Brentford, and Wolves straight up demolished Aston Villa 2-0. So I think it's just worth noting in the sense of like keeping our eyes open for, are these fixtures really good? I think that's really relevant from like a captaincy perspective. You know, this week you have an Ekitike versus Wolves. You have a Thiago versus Bournemouth. You have Bruno versus Newcastle, and then you have any of the City assets. But I will say captaincy's back to being fun. This was a fun captaincy week. We all did something different. I'm bitter about it, but it was fun. I liked that we all went a little spicy and went a little different. So, and that'll continue upcoming into this week. And honestly, we always forget to talk captaincy. So let's just do it now. Who are you guys eyeing up?
Oh God, I need to get through transfer plans before I get to captaincy.
Yeah,
okay. I'm sorry. But I mean, that's kind of your point is that, there's a legit question and I'm not sure. So,
well, that's fair. I do want to do, before we get into transfer plans, then I want to briefly do some crowd FPL work because I think this is helpful in that sense. I have a couple of duels that I picked just looking at some of these. Thiago over Tark was one of them, just for the reasons that I said. I don't know if Everton end up keeping this clean, famous last words. And Bournemouth are really bad defensively. Like along the lines of what I was just saying, I do think Bournemouth and Tottenham are probably the two teams right now. Burnley still as well. Those three that I would say are the teams where I'm looking at them as, if my player is playing them, I expect big points. So yeah, got that pick this week. I don't know if y'all have any disagreement there, or if you see any other enticing picks here of guys that you think are going to do really well. Sharp, I know you mentioned Semenyo.
Yeah, when I was scrolling, I had like Semenyo across the board on my screen. There, it's like, well, it's Rice. For me, it's Semenyo and Rice. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Semenyo versus Rice, Semenyo versus Rogers, and Semenyo versus Bumo. All three of those, that's kind of my debate in my midfield across the board is which guy I want to bring in. I'm leaning Semenyo over both Rice and Rogers this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Fixture-wise and form-wise, especially for Rogers. The Semenyo Bumo question, I could get either of them to come in this week for a Rogers probably or a Rice, depending on how I'm feeling. And I'm trying to figure that out. Today's game didn't inspire a lot of confidence in me in Bumo, but like you said, Luke, they can be hot and cold, and it's just a matter of which guy is going to be the one that hauls. And having Bruno already, I'm leaning Semenyo for those next two fixtures. When I look at it from just a scoring fact, I do think Newcastle is better, so I think I'm still picking Semenyo there.
I agree.
It is worth noting, though, coming into this week, Bumo had returned in like 5 of his last 6 or something, though. So, like, yeah, he didn't return this time around, but he still could. I think it's also worth noting as you look at your teams this week, because it's such a quick turnaround, there are almost certainly going to be some surprise benchings or players that get really limited minutes. You know, we talked about Rice coming off, but Harry Wilson also went down before coming off. So, you know, there's a chance he doesn't play. He came off at like 70 minutes. So there's plenty, like I could see plenty of guys not playing. And I think it's one of those weeks where if your first bench sub isn't good, it's actually worth the transfer to just make that player better.
Yeah.
So I'm here for you on Semenyo. I am curious what now we can actually get into transfer plans then. What your team actually looks like with regards to 31. Because if I were to go there, right, I have 4 players who are blanking in 31. I have Raya, Gabriel, Gahey, and Haaland. So if I were to bring in Semenyo, I'd have to use another transfer to field a full 11 in 31. So do you have a plan for that, or are you just kind of vibing it?
I mean, we're always vibing it a little bit. Yeah, if I were to do that, I don't know. Do you want to bring bus teams up just for a moment so I can kind of walk through that? Nice. Okay. So, yeah, if I were to do that, that would leave me with 5 guys in total that would be gone that week, and none of them would be a goalie. So I would have 2 guys starting that were blanking. Right, that would give me Gabriel, Rice, Gahey, Haaland, and then if I brought Semenyo in, possible I do that for Rice, but either way, 4 or 5 guys that are blanking then in 31. The thing for me and why I kind of landed on this was I've been vibing it. I want to vibe it. I don't want to think too hard or sacrifice a team either in the short or long term. I do think there might be some play in wildcarding in 31, ripping that Band-Aid off a week earlier, ensuring that I have a full team. That would probably still give me my bench full with Arsenal and City players. Probably would keep a Haaland, a Gabriel, and then Gahey, Rice, someone on the bench in that spot. But I could then play a full team. I could be set up for whatever those players looked like because like we've kind of talked about, I don't think money is going to be a huge concern, so I'm not worried about building out the team that I want to build out. So I could just rip it off early, kind of get ahead of people and not have to worry about this lead in and get to be really aggressive. So if I were to do this, it would be Semenyo in for Rogers. And then that would move Anderson on the bench, probably to be
tragedy.
It is a tragedy. And then Haaland would probably, like before Tuesday, is probably going to come in. It's either going to be for João Pedro, although we just talked about how bad Villa looked and how informed Chelsea has been due to their fixtures, or it would be Hill coming out, which may be the more likely option.
Are you concerned about the potential Wilson injury at all? I think he was injured.
Yeah, that's what Luke just said too. He came off early. I could say the same thing about Rice, right? So I guess I do have 2 guys there, but then in that instance, look at who I have coming off the bench. And it's a Hill, Anderson. Worst case scenario is Dallo coming in, and I'm not super scared of Newcastle's attack, and United could play well.
Mm-hmm.
On Semenyo, like we were touching, I briefly brought this up earlier, but now that the Champions League draw has happened, my cautionary tale is Semenyo played the full game yesterday. Then he plays again in 3 days, in theory, against Forest. Then you have the FA Cup 3 days later against Newcastle. Then 4 days later, their Champions League final stage against Real Madrid. And then they're back 3 days later to Prem again. So just in the world of Pep Roulette,
you got to think it's the FA Cup he's sitting though, right?
Yeah. The other thing is, like, if Haaland's not out, I think Pep needs a goal scorer. I think, like, Haaland plays every game. Haaland doesn't really get rotated. Like, I think Pep Roulette is more of a feature on some of the squad players, and if Haaland's not guaranteed to be there, I could see it as a almost increased reason for Semenyo to be out or back in.
Yeah, I guess O'Reilly did also get injured at the weekend. I forgot about that. But I'm curious, like, I think Doku's supposed to be back. So then how do you fit him in and maybe a Foden in? It's City. You know how they are. They have so many attackers. They have so many options of players they could bring in. And as soon as Haaland doesn't want to play with his toy anymore, he doesn't want to play with his toy anymore. And there's no reason for that. So your Vibes FC, you don't overthink like I do. But I look at this and I go, okay, you're already bringing in a player who's blanking in 31. I really like your wildcard 31 idea. I actually want to play around with that. But then if they don't play one of those games before then, or they sub in for 30 minutes or something, like that is kind of a disastrous situation. But at the same time, the upside is definitely there.
It's going to be the thing that all of us have to face, though. And it's really just that sub-in, right? Like, if you get screwed with a sub-in, I'm not too worried about them coming off at 70 or 65 or anything like that. But I think him not playing, I have cover for it, so I'm not worried about that. And if I get burned by rotation that comes in late, I think we're all going to be playing that game, so I'm not super worried about it.
Yeah, but City have, I think, the worst schedule of any team. And I mean that in the sense of, right, so, okay, maybe you're right that he sits the FA Cup game, but then he's probably going to play the Champions League game 3 days later, and then he's going to play start and play the Prem game 3 days after that as well. And then they play Champions League 3 days after that. Like, it's a 3-day turnaround basically from now through end of March for them.
Yeah,
so it's just a lot of fixtures.
I don't think this game is going to be the game that he gets benched in. So
but you still need him for that West Ham one. That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, he could play this game, but then if he doesn't play West Ham, then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have, because then he blanks in 31 too, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
I'll take a transfer for a positive score when I'm changing my team as much as I want to in 3 weeks.
Yeah, fair enough. Vibes FC.
Vibes FC.
Mac, is this your bus?
This is my bus. I think this is relatively accurate for how I'll set it up to. I don't have any thoughts on the captaincy yet, though, just because I trust Manchester United more, and Newcastle haven't looked as good, but Thiago's playing Bournemouth and they're just leaky. Last week, I got rid of Chalobah, Enzo, and João Pedro for Virgil, Dango, and Thiago. So just straight upgrades across the board. That was great moves all around. Applause. That being said, it is a absolutely fearful time for me as a non-Semenyo, Wilson, or Ekitike owner. And I had reasons and strong convictions for not going to any of them from the players I transferred last week. And then this game just ripped those convictions to pieces. So I'm like semi-tempted to just keep this team and have faith with the logic that I put it behind. I have 2 free transfers in the bank this week. The biggest guy I'm most concerned about is Ekitike.
Yeah.
Because Liverpool have good fixtures for such a sustained period of time, and I just don't have a good way to him. So part of me wants to roll, part of me wants to make transfers.
You have 2, right?
Yep. I could go Haaland out, Ekitike in, and then Rodgers out because, I did look up on the side winner McGinn and Tielemans returning, and McGinn's out for the whole season, and Tielemans is out until late March or anything. So we're looking at a solid 3, 4, 5 games. So that says to me that Rodgers won't be getting better anytime soon. He might get a random haul or something, but it could be worth it in the short term to deviate from the original plan. It's just that if in the event that I have to get Haaland back when that happens, it's just going to be so hard, and it's going to be burning more transfers to get him out and then immediately bring him back in. So I haven't decided whether I should make transfers, but I think I am contemplating Rodgers and Haaland out for Ekitike and potentially Semenyo, and then the lineup that it would give me this week would be stacked.
Yeah. Could you afford? So if let's say you didn't sell Haaland and you did Krupi up to Ekitike, I'm trying to figure out is there any way to do that, or is that?
I don't think you can do that in one.
No, because I have 0.8 in the bank, and just getting rid of Krupi for Ekitike still is minus 3.6. So then the next most expensive guy to go that I'd be willing to get rid of would probably be Mbumo.
What if you went Rodgers to like an absolute cheapo? So like the cheapest of cheap.
If I go Mbumo out, then I have 4.8, and then I can go Statch for 4.7. Like that's how low we're talking about. That Rodgers is a mil cheaper, so I don't think I can go to 3 point something.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a path that I'm convinced about, which means the only way I could absolutely do it is if I got rid of Haaland. And then that team absolutely slaps. I mean, no doubt about it. It's good. I'm just wondering, is this worth the disadvantage that I'll be at when then we get to set up for the doubles and the game weeks beyond that? And I don't have a lot of transfers for that.
Dude, maybe it's fine.
That's the least convincing answer I've ever heard.
No, because I was going to sit here and try to tell you why not to sell Haaland, but now I'm looking at the next few, right? So 50-50 chance on if he starts against Forest this week. Skip that one. Let's say he plays against West Ham. Fine. That sucks for you. But then he blanks, plays Chelsea, Arsenal. I guess Chelsea's not good defensively, so maybe I shouldn't be thinking that in a nice way. So then you're really looking at getting him back in 34, and by that point we're I don't know. It's trickier in your situation than it is in ours. Like if Sharp was like, I'm going to sell Haaland, I'd be like, go for it. I don't care. But for you, because you need to be rolling transfers so much going forward, you're already at that disadvantage. Selling Haaland just feels like it's presenting a lot of negative alternatives. The flip side of it is I really do think the upside is worth it for Ekitike. So it's
like this team.
That's why I'm wrestling with it.
It's crazy. Is the thing. And it's crazy for a while. Like the thing is we're doing a lot of planning for 1 or 2 game weeks. But Semenyo, when I look at his fixtures, is genuinely someone I could have for the rest of the season. In terms of he plays Forest, West Ham, but then there's Chelsea, Arsenal on the backside. So there's that brutal run, and it might be better to just not have him for those guys and then get him afterwards. But on the flip side, it's like I could have him absolutely for the run-in. I think the Liverpool guys are borderline guys you would pick up for the duration of the season at this point, or at least through 32 when the next big decision is. So I feel like I got a lot of positive reasons. And in 31, I don't necessarily have to play a full team either, right? Like if I make these transfers and I don't want to play, like just play one guy down and that ends up being Gahey, who I was going to transfer out anyways, but I saved that because we think City are going to get a double. Like there's a known City double coming. Maybe it's better to just load up on my City assets now and then trade my Liverpool assets back to the City assets when we have more clarity.
So that's your point on Semenyo, but in order to get a City asset in Semenyo, you have to sell a City asset in Haaland, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be a Semenyo if I want to play around the blanks entirely. I just was plugging them in because I have so much money. I could go Wilson because his next run is great, although I like it a little less for the long term. So I'm a little torn. But
I am also torn looking at this team because
I'm gonna throw like something random out, and this is just a different way to think about it. I don't think it's going to be viable, but for the sake of discussion, I feel like you need to I look at our teams and I'm like, why can you not afford some of the things that like Luke or I can afford? And it's Senesi, it's Raya, it's guys that are just really expensive back there. So is there a world in which you make just baseline transfers to try to be aggressive throughout the last 7 or so game weeks?
That's what I'm saying. Can we briefly just go through the Krupi exercise of like what is a scenario that you might kind of like to get rid of Krupi instead of Haaland for Ekitike? I don't know if are we not speaking the same language there, Sharp?
For me, it's more so like, yeah, that would be great. But I think in order to even consider doing Krupi we're speaking the same things. Mine's just, I think, a step first. In order to even consider that, I think he has to make multiple changes to clear up funds across the board. I don't think there's going to be like the 2 free transfers that are going to get it done.
Yeah,
I think
it's probably true. It's
a
probably
Raya, Senesi drop, then a Rogers drop, then you can do it.
Yeah,
which then feels like, I mean, because you need, if you're getting an Ekatike, not you need, but you really want him for this week.
I think that. So I think the thinking on Ekatike would be that if Haaland's questionable, and if I only have him if he doesn't play for us, then I only have him for the West Ham game, and I think I might be fine rolling the dice on that one, counting the fact that then he blanks. And then it's not like the Liverpool run's good forever. I was just saying a second ago I could have him for the rest of the season, but actually it does turn, in 33, 34. So then I could just get back out of the Liverpool guys I wanted, or at some point, or maybe the United run is down. I agree with your general point, Sharp, though, that I'm probably a little more heavily invested in the back line. I like having Raya. Senesi would probably be the one to go. I'm just not sure for who. It's just he's got good games coming up.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's when you take the bullet and just take Hill and just take the cheaper version of Senesi.
But it's also just like that these Bournemouth games just dry up in the next 2. Like, I don't know if I want to be going sideways to a Bournemouth guy, because after Brentford, Burnley, and 31, it's almost like you could ship him for the rest of the season.
It could. I honestly, as somebody who owns Hill, I'm like, we might have tapped that.
Yeah, I mean,
about, like, I don't know if he's good anymore, because now he's defconning like 6 or 7 a game as opposed to 15.
I always like to go back though. It's hard for me to give him up.
Well, it sounds like Mac, like, vibes on this. It sounds like Mac is on. He's convincing himself actually to sell Haaland to TK.
Maybe.
The reason I'm not sold is it's not just the Haaland to Ekatike part. It's more so that your whole plan right now is predicated on you saving transfers so that you don't get absolutely destroyed when there's doubles, and Sharp and I are able to wild card into that.
I'm very aware of that, and that's what I got to be really careful at.
Yeah.
Problem is, I just didn't go Ekatike or anybody like that because I just wasn't convinced. And then unfortunately this game, like a week after I make my transfers, they look great. They've just been so inconsistent. Like, the fixtures are so good for Liverpool. I just think I'm going to be hemorrhaging rank if I don't move for them. And my plan has been to maximize the opportunity for the double week, but the double week's only 1 week. And if I'm not setting myself up to succeed in the 6 preceding weeks, I think that's something a lot of people don't consider enough when they're playing. But I need to, if I were to do that, I just have to make sure I have enough viability to like move around. Like, how do I get back into Haaland when he returns?
So I feel like the middle ground move to get a Liverpool asset and not break your team is just to do Rogers to Sobo.
Yeah, I thought about that, but then is that worth it for the week? Like, if I'm going to make a transfer, is it better just hold him? Because the Rogers fixtures do change, and that's why I brought him up.
Yeah, that's fair. Or I mean, I think you could also, especially if he called to be subbed off and he's blanking, you could just do Rice to Sobo.
Yeah, but Rice was good. I'm still perplexed why everybody's getting rid of Rice. He got 5 this week.
Yeah,
he's been on a run of 5. He got 9. He's like Anderson from Forest, but with more upside. But like you said, if I go Rice out, it does kind of solve my blanking problem, and I can keep a Gahey. So
yeah, you got to get rid of one of those guys, right? So
yep, there are upsides. I just would maybe wait like another night to see if we get any more information on Rice before the rotation.
For sure. Yeah, I always forget in weeks like this, there's only 300 of them a season, but I always forget if we get when we're getting press conferences and how many, because sometimes it feels like on midweeks we actually just don't get them from some teams. So we may just be flying completely blind with guys like this.
Arteta's just a liar too.
Right.
So you said the best tip of the game week is what you said earlier, and just be confident in your bench for this week.
Right. Which, well, yeah, I mean, I think on the whole, I guess you are. I don't know about Krupi. I don't keep track of his minutes, but
all of these guys are fine for me for a bench.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe you just write it out and have to hold the storm. Yeah, I don't know, man. If I was in your shoes, I would be overthinking the fuck out of this. So I'm not going to transfer that energy to you. I'm not going to project.
I would, if I were in your shoes, I might take I shouldn't say that.
Might take a hit. Shocker.
No,
well, but see, Mac is playing a long-term game that you are incapable of playing, so that's the difference.
Yeah, Yeah, I know. No, I probably would take Haaland down. I feel like I was trying to talk you out of it a little bit, but I do think that's probably the right move in the short term to set yourself up.
Even if it's just one transfer, Haaland out for Ekatike could solve my entire City Arsenal benching dilemma, and then maybe I just go back afterwards. Like,
Yeah. I would then like you don't need to make it this week, I guess. So maybe it's fine. But if you were only doing one and you feel confident holding Rogers, I would probably look to just bring Kirby up and have 2 playable guys. I know then that might set you up for failure trying to get Haaland back and need multiple transfers, but
I just don't think there's anybody who's viable to bring in that
I
I
was
could
just-
afford.
Because I've been thinking about this a lot when I was really worried about Haaland being out, which I guess I still should be. I don't know. I've just convinced myself that he's going to play. But you still have DCL at Leeds. They have some pretty solid fixtures. I would say Welbeck, but they play Arsenal this week. You could go for an Everton guy, but they play Arsenal next week. You could do. I think the one short-term option that actually could work would be like a Raul from Fulham.
He's
But
been injured.
yeah, he plays like 70 minutes. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's tough.
I know. Well, I guess you just left him, but João Pedro, they still look good.
I'm not
Yeah.
bringing him in.
All right, it's fine.
No, honestly, he is probably, if I had to pick a striker, I probably would pick him just because he's nailed. He still looks threatening. Even in this game against Arsenal, he did. He's going to be one of those players that this is why I said you jokingly suggested offline, go João Pedro. And I was like, or I jokingly said that it goes against everything I believe in. And it's more so because I know as soon as I touch him, he's going to break.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that. So I'm like, I don't want to go buy a player and then get frustrated with him when he's not scoring. But I also know that if I don't own him, he's going to continue to hurt my rank. So it's just a fun little carousel we live on.
I think this week's going to be a huge thing for them. I think it's the best thing that they could have a midweek game, real quick here, because they've had such good form because they were playing shit teams. And even today, they didn't look terrible until they got that red card. They still had threatening attacks. That corner was an own goal, but it was threatening. And so I think the fact that JP gets to come back and play immediately, we're going to find out if he's going to be broken and done for the season or if he's going to continue riding that hot hand.
I don't think it's a done for the season thing. He's a good enough player where I don't doubt he'll return more times in the future. It's just that, I mean, you're looking at for the rest of the season in 11, how many games are left in the season? 9. You're looking at 2 fixtures that you would 2 or 3 fixtures you'd viably want to play him in. And I just feel like from a team comp perspective, there's just better assets out there.
That's probably true.
That's my issue with it.
It's more so just that he's the best of a bad lot is kind of how I feel.
And I just don't want to pick up the best of the bad lot. I would rather just wait until the good lot comes around again and I know who that is than chase marginal gains.
Yeah. And I will say, again, this because of this quick turnaround week, he's actually somebody who, now that I think about it, I am kind of worried of if he's going to start on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, in a couple days, just with a quick turnaround. And I feel like you could say that about so many different players here who played full time. It could be literally anyone. It wouldn't surprise me if it was literally anyone, even an Ekatike. And the flip side of that, Mac, just to give you another reason to sell Haaland potentially, is that I do think, assuming he plays, Ekatike is probably the best captaincy option this week.
Yeah, I agree. It's just too good of a run, and I'm like, it's just never a good idea to not have Haaland, but it might be a good idea to not have Haaland in the short term.
Yeah, if we got word that it was unlikely he was going to play, I would say pull the trigger for sure. Because if you can keep the money hanging around so that you can always get back to him quickly, then I really don't think it's the end of the world.
Going back to Haaland from Ekatike would be one transfer.
Yeah. Well, as long as but that's the thing. You were talking about if you go upgrade Rogers,
but Rogers is 7-7. He's more expensive than Rice, Wilson.
So you'd be taking him down no matter what.
Probably mostly, unless I went Semenyo.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have any money to spend, or we don't have anywhere to spend our money, I should say.
If I went Semenyo and Ekatike, I could have 6 mil in the bank. If I kept Haaland and straight swapped Rogers to Semenyo, I'd have 0.4 mil in the bank. So I could just do that and then keep Haaland, but It's more of a being scared of Ekatike guy. He's the elephant in the room for me.
Yeah. I hear that.
I think the counterpoint is Wolves apparently figured out how to play at home,
it's true.
given the
It's
Villa
true.
and Arsenal games, and
Or
we have to play.
I'd say that is like congrats to Wolves. You guys have looked great, but
Yeah,
also Villa have
facts.
just looked extra bad.
That's true.
Sure.
That's
I
true.
mean, drawing Arsenal was a pretty solid game. They just lost to Palace because they went down on that red card. But we get to play them
just
twice
a low
there
event
this
team.
week. What?
I just think they're a low event team. I think they're like good at diminishing chances, but also not good at getting chances. And I'm Villa.
Agreed.
I mean.
Oh, that's fair.
Cool. Well, lots of things to think about. I'll tweet it out, whatever I decide.
Yeah. All right. We can go to me last. I don't have too much. It's really just wait, is this right? Oh, this is not right. Hold, please. Do I have the right photo in here? I might not. I might have fucked up because that was definitely last week's. Here we go. Sharp, do your thing.
Wow, I'm glad you called that out.
I'm just fucking
kidding.
No.
Sharp. Drink this break.
All right, so this is my
show
bus
your
team
attention to the top right for sure.
All right, this is my 29 team. As I've said for a while now, like I sacrificed my backline to get the attack that I wanted. I still feel that way. After the moves last week, feel good. So nothing really to do here other than to the point of having a confident bench, probably get rid of Enzo. That's really probably where it is. And I honestly might
come around.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even like, heard. Yeah. So I think based on talking to you guys now, I'm like, I feel like it's Enzo to Sobo, but I don't love that move. I just like, I have like 2 point something in the bank, so I could go pretty much wherever I want. I have enough money to do Enzo to Wirtz. So it's like, I could go get Rogers. I don't think I want to do that.
Would not do that.
Yeah. So it's like, again, this was intended to be Wirtz money. And now I'm like, okay, well, Wirtz isn't going to play this week. I guess I could save it and get him next week. Like, I don't have to do anything. It's just that I don't necessarily trust having this bench. I suppose I could just move it where Enzo's further back and you have like, Rodon against Sunderland as my first bench, and it's maybe not the end of the world. So I could definitely get away with rolling as well here. But I'm happy with the starting lineup. It's really just, do I get somebody else to sit there? Because even if I get Enzo to somebody else, I don't know if I play them. Like if I were to go get Sobo, like I don't know if I even put him in over Bumo. It's just that I'm sure that one of these guys doesn't play, and it's very well could be Haaland, in which case I need somebody on the bench.
If you have this much money, is it not just getting rid of a defender and taking him up? You could take Hill up to Van Dijk if you wanted with that.
Yeah,
much
that's
money.
true. That's true.
I like that better. That's actually great.
Because then your bench is Alderete and then Rodon. Those I feel very good about. And even Enzo against Villa, I'm not like super scared of.
Okay, I know he returned this weekend, but I still don't trust Liverpool's defense. Am I crazy?
I don't think you're that crazy, but I think part of I know. Well, to be fair, once we're up by that much, like who cares if they score? That was they should have scored a few before that too. Which isn't helping the trusting a defender. I get that.
Yeah.
But the point, I think we figured out how to take corners again, which is great. We figured out we had a 6'4" giant that we can just feed the ball to, and he can get us head on. So I think that's been kind of fun. We seem a lot more threatening off those. I think that is a benefit to him. I also think he's going to get DEFCONs. I know he didn't this week, and I would have to get fact-checked on how consistent that's happened, but it feels like it should be happening pretty consistently. So I think he has a lot more options. And again, our fixtures are just what they are. Like, hopefully we keep a couple cleans in there.
Yeah. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but that's how I also feel about Sobo, to be fair. So
I think Van Dijk's more reliable than Sobo for him.
I think Van Dijk is definitely more reliable. So he's non-rotation risk and he's been scoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's less risk. You're just throwing in less money overall for a speculative pick.
Yeah. Heard. I just don't like it. You very well might be right. So I very well may go there.
The topic of things you don't like, I have exact money to Rodgers and Haaland out for Ekitike and Salah. just looking at that, just for no reason. I would never do that. But
what happened to him, man? I miss the old Salah.
I think it's slot, dude. That's my conspiracy theory. He was fine at AFCON.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, all right. So is there anyone outside of Liverpool assets that you guys would go to right now?
Not strongly, no. You have representation from the important teams, I feel like. And that includes Enzo, that includes Hill, that includes Rodon for Leeds. Like, at this point, I think you're just waiting until, like, let's say Bruno goes down with a broken leg. You're going to be so much better of a spot with 2 transfers.
Yeah. I could also... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, worst case on the backside of your wild card, you're just more primed for changes.
Yeah. I really like your 31 idea, Sharp. And that was kind of the same logic that I went to. Obviously, the actual bench boost itself didn't work out, but that was the same logic I had going into the season when everyone was talking about doing bench boost 1 and I did bench boost 2 is I was like, realistically, what are the odds that a player gets injured in game week 1? Like, obviously there's more of a risk than 0, but I felt like if it gave me some upside and I had better fixtures in week 2, I was like, I'm going to plan for that. And everyone's kind of like, hey, I'm going to wild card in 32. So I have the exact players I want for a bench boost 33. But to your point, yeah, if it gives you a way to dodge a blank and potentially gain some upside and getting somebody like a Semenyo, which I guess is the other option I could do here. I could just do Semenyo, which I don't hate either.
Wow. I thought about suggesting that, but I thought you were going to be so far off that I didn't even want to waste my breath.
No, in all honesty, Sharp, like I I feel dumb for not thinking of wildcard 31. That makes great sense. Like maybe it's that I need to do some digging because maybe there's a thought process of we won't know all the doubles in 33 until after 31, in which case that makes that somewhat kaput. Not somewhat kaput, it makes it kaput. So if that's the case, then never mind. But if that's a potential option, like I actually like that. So
yeah, I've done 0 research on the timing. So
I know. I'll be back. I'll be back in the group chat with some information. But if that could work, then I'm very tempted to go there. It's like I've wanted to get Semenyo for a few weeks now. I just didn't know how or like wasn't sure. But then the flip side is everything that I said to you about fixture congestion and him potentially not starting.
The past couple weeks, yeah.
Right. So that's what's kept me from going there. But okay, so those are. I know I have a few options to mull over, same as Mac. I'll overthink this shit, and then we'll come back into next week and get the low score and be wearing that banana.
It's crazy how dour I feel for how great of a week it was. We're all on greens, and I'm just not even.
I know. I think it's also tough. Like we talked about this maybe offline last week, Mac, but like when your rank just isn't where you want it to be, it's like I'm on a green, but I'm still at 700K. It makes me be like sick. Like that is good. It's better than 900K, but it feels pretty marginally better than 900K when I'm like want to be sub 100K.
Yeah, right. I think I'll be happier if I start touching the 2s a little bit more, and that's why Ekitike is scaring the shit out of me. It's just these rank threats that are doing well are making me lose my nerve.
Fucking Semenyo, dude. Like he's such a troll. It's ridiculous every effing week. And there's been like so many good reasons to not go for him all season. Maybe not at the beginning of the year, but like otherwise, there have been so many good reasons not to go for him, and he just keeps. Neither here nor there. All right, gents.
I think that's
Sharp.
it.
Where's your captaincy? Did you say Ekitike, or are you on?
Yeah, it's gonna be on Ekitike.
Okay. I could also see Thiago, Mac. I know you already have him. I'm probably between those two for my team personally, so I need to do a little bit more digging, but I think it could be either one.
I think I'll just captain Haaland this week and then let my sub go and get me 50 points.
Right.
Hey, it's honestly, a good strategy.
That'd be kind of nice.
I'll leave it up to the FPL gods to decide for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes they look out for you.
Yeah, they sure. They look out for you.
They have been looking out for me in 2 seasons, dude.
They know I need some help. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys next week. And by next week, I mean in like 4 days for post game week 29. And then we go into the FA Cup round. So I actually think we have a little bit of a break. So we'll see. But good luck to everybody in game week 29. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Catch you on the flip.
Peace.